Ladies and gentlemen, if I could have your attention, we'll go ahead and begin. On behalf of the Board of Water Resources, we'd like to welcome all of you here. My name is Kyle Stevens. I am chairman of the board this year. We recognize or welcome those that are here with projects that are requesting funds that we'll be discussing later on in our meeting, and other invited guests. We welcome you here and participating with the board meeting today. We'll go ahead with some introductions. I'll ask the board members to introduce themselves briefly, and then we'll ask Director Hostniager to introduce the staff members for the Board of Water Resources, or excuse me, the Division of Water Resources, and we'll go to that point.
Randy Crozier, board member.
Jim Lemon, board member.
Wayne Anderson, board member.
Blaine Ipson, board member.
Charles Holmgren, board member, Bear River Basin.
And I'll just, Norm Johnson is coming in, and we'll mention that Juliet Tennert, a board member from the Salt Lake area, is participating with us virtually and is online. So
yeah, thank you for that opportunity.
Thank you.
Great, thank you. And with the division staff that are here today are Jill Williams, Shalane DiBernardi, Marisa Egbert, Tom Cox, Russell Hadley, Jaqueline Pacheco, Ben Merritt, Grant Doty, Ani Baynard, Stephen Gregerson, Randy Staker, Jack Heinzman, Rachel Shilton, Lanley Pham, and Marty Bushman from the AG's office. We also have Shannon Cloud, who's taking minutes. So thank you, Shannon. And in the back behind the curtain, our AV team, Paul Gedge and Carmen McDonald, and thank them for making all this possible for an electronic board meeting.
Thank you, Candace. You might ask yourself the question, why do we go through the process of introducing everybody, or at least mentioning names? And that's for the purpose of the public record, so that we know that we have a record of who is here. Others that are participating with us today will have opportunity to be recognized when their individual projects are being discussed. Today is kind of a historical day in that we'll be for the first time discussing a lot of projects relative to the secondary metering grant applications and the money that has been made available through the legislative process to address our drought and issues and conservation needs. There's been a lot of headway made with that. There's been a lot of people that have been involved in that particular process, and we appreciate the efforts that have been put forward. That's been a heavy lift for not only division staff people, but providers of secondary water and others. And so the board meeting today will actually be broken up into three sections. We have this not the main section, but this section will be from 10:30 until 12, and then we have or 12:30, I guess. Then we have another session at 1:30, because we've had, and then in the final session was at 3:30. We've had to do that because of the need to discuss 70 plus projects, and given the staff time to adequately address those and the individuals that are sponsoring those projects, it's been broken up that way to try and be as efficient as we can to move through the process. So we recognize, today is going to be a long day, but we appreciate everyone being here and looking forward to moving through the process. And Shalane DiBernardi will read in some information at the beginning of discussion of the secondary meter application process that will kind of outline, the source of funding and the justification and the need to move in the direction that we are with that. So with that, we'll go ahead with the meeting as outlined. We first have approval of the minutes for our board meeting held in June, I guess it was. I didn't,
Yes.
so we'll go ahead, entertain a motion to consider approval of the minutes.
Mr. Chairman, I'd make the motion that we approve the minutes. Jim Lemon.
Okay, it's been moved by Mr. Lemon to approve.
Norman Johnson, I'll approve. I'll second that motion.
Okay, so it's been moved and seconded to approve the minutes of the June board meeting. Is there any discussion to that? Seeing none, we'll call for the question then. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We'll let the record show that that motion carries unanimously. And thank you, Shannon, for the efforts you put forward in helping to put those minutes together and to reflect the actions that were taken in that meeting. Okay, we'll go ahead with the next agenda item, and that is to discuss projects. And the first one, before we move into the secondary meter reports, we have two projects, normal business of the board to discuss today. And the first one will be committal of funds for the city of South Salt Lake. And so, Jaqueline, if you'd like to come forward. And Juliet, this is in your area. Do you have anything to say to start off with?
No, I just appreciate the work that Jaqueline and the team have done to get to this point, and I think it's a really excellent project, and I'm excited to bring it before for the stage.
Thank you. Jaqueline, go ahead.
The proposed project is located in South Salt Lake in Salt Lake County. In June of 2022, the board authorized 85% of the project cost up to $8.5 million for the proposed project, which consists of two projects. The primary project is to develop a new well, pump station, and an iron manganese treatment plant. And then the applicant is requesting that any funds remaining from this primary project be applied towards the secondary project of replacing cast iron main lines. They understand that it's not enough to cover the $10 million of the total cost isn't enough to cover the replacement of all the lines, and they will be replacing those over time, and they will be financing it. There have been no changes to the project since authorization. This is just a project map, just as a reminder. So the cost estimate and sharing remains as authorized. Staff recommends the board commit 85% of the project costs up to $8,500,000, and that the bonded indebtedness be returned at 1% interest over 30 years, with annual payments of approximately $342,000, includes reserves. That is staff's report.
Thank you, Jaqueline. Any questions from the board members relative to the project? We'd just like to mention that for committal of funds, the representatives from the application do not have to be present. And so that's why no one is present here from South Salt Lake. So Juliet, we'll go ahead and if you have a motion.
Yeah, so there it is. I don't have anything in front of me. So yeah, I would like to move that we commit 85% of the project cost up to $8.5 million, and the bonded indebtedness be returned at 1% interest over 30 years with annual payments of approximately $342,000, including reserves, as staff has recommended.
Okay, you've heard the motion. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
A second by Norm Johnson. Any questions? Have there been any public comments received? Okay, there have been no public comments, online public comments. We'll call for the question then. All those in favor of project number RE458, City of South Salt Lake, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Jaqueline.
Thank you.
And good luck to South Salt Lake as they move forward in getting the project implemented. Okay, next item on the agenda is a special item. It's for authorization and committal of funds. Hodges Irrigation Company will invite representatives that are here with Hodges to come forward. Norm Meekum is the president. Is that? And Mike Swenson. Come on up. As a board member, Quinn Dance with JUB Engineering. Doug Swenson, shareholder, present in the back, and Bill Cox, Commissioner, Rich County, correct? Okay, very good. Well, welcome to all of you. Thank you for being here. We'll invite Marisa to go ahead and make the presentation. Well, first of all, Charles, this is in your area. Did you have anything you wanted to say?
Mr. Chairman, board members, I received a phone call about 2 weeks ago or less, and there was a crisis in an irrigation system in Rich County near Garden City, and I'm very impressed that the speed staff has been able to work to find some solutions to the problem there, and hopefully we can get these folks back into irrigation water and get their crops growing and producing again before the end of the crop season this year. That's my comment, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Thank you, Charles. Go ahead, Marisa.
Okay, and as mentioned, this is for Hodges Irrigation Company. This is a map that was provided by them, and as you see the red area there, that's the area of about 600 feet of the canal that failed. Apparently, this happened back in May. They did some fixes, and it's happened again here in July. So the canal failure in May, these are some of the shots of that, and as you see, we were trying to figure it out if that's like a glamping area down there. Yep. And then there we go. And some of the work that was done to try to fix that. But then here in July, which is, just last month, having some more issues with that. I'm really impressed that they want to get near that crack, but okay. No one from OSHA here, right? So this is some of the work, some of the issues that they have run into. And so what they're looking at right now, and they've already been working with a contractor to try to figure out how to fix this, is they're looking to install about 700 feet of 48-inch pipe, 48-inch diameter pipe. And so right now, the cost estimate that they're seeing is $435,000 to install that pipe. They're asking the board for 85% of the project cost of $370,000. And that would leave $65,000 for them to come up with as part of this. So staff recommends the board authorize and commit 85% of the project cost up to $370,000, and then it be purchased at 0% interest over 25 years with annual payments of approximately $14,800. And just a reminder that the 0% is because this is coming from the smaller revolving construction fund for some of these smaller projects, in particular when we have some emergencies like this. And so that's where that 0% comes from on that. Just another note that we're also committing funds today. They do have several requirements that still need to get done, but they are definitely on a fast track. And instead of waiting until mid-September, we wanted to have those funds committed. So as soon as they're ready to go, we can get a purchase agreement going. And I believe it's possible you may have already started some construction. And so they can discuss that a little bit more. That's staff's report.
Thank you, Marisa. We'll go ahead and turn it time to the sponsors of the project then to add any additional information or help us understand the project better.
I think Marissa's done a great job explaining it. We've been in touch with her, and she's been great to work with. We have started construction. They started yesterday putting pipe in the ground, so they expect it to be, a week to 10 days to complete the construction.
What type of project or pipe is it that they're installing?
It's 48-inch ADF.
Okay.
double wall.
Yeah, it's kind of what we could get at this time on quick notice.
Any indication as to what caused the failure?
Yes, the contractors were working down below the canal, and there's still disagreement between them and us as to what caused the failure, but they were working below the canal.
So it compromised the area
They did.
somewhat. Sounds like.
That's our opinion. Yes.
So was there a breach of the canal or and any flooding?
It started coming out and it was contained on the property they were working on. We were able to get it shut down, and it was contained. It did not go off the property. There was no property damage because it was contained there, and there were no structures on the property.
Okay. Any other comments from any others that are present? Seeing none, we'll turn to the board members then and ask if there's any questions or comments that to offer. You're a quiet group. Okay.
It's a long day. They got a lot to get through.
That's true. If not, then we'll turn to Mr. Holmgren for a motion since it's in your area.
Mr. Chairman, I will make the motion that the board authorize and commit 85% of the project cost up to $370,000, and that the project be purchased at 0% interest over 25 years with annual payments of approximately $14,800. That is the motion, Mr. Chair.
I'd second it.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to approve the project, both for authorization and committal of funds. At this point in time, we generally ask if there have been any public comments, and we've had that discussion earlier indicating that there were no online public comments made. And so we'll call for the question. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say aye, or by the same sign. And rule the motion carried, and then note that, and I failed to do that previously, that Juliet participating with us online voted in the affirmative as well. So we'll rule if that motion carries, and thank you and good luck with getting the project completed and water back
Thank you. Much
to the end of the
appreciated.
road.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, thank you for that phase of the agenda. We're now going to move into the next part of the agenda, which will be, as I mentioned earlier, will be broken up into 3 different sessions during the course of the day. But before we do that, we'd like to invite new Executive Director of the Department of Natural Resources to come up and address the group.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Chairman Stevens, and board. It is a real privilege and honor to be here with you today, and I just wanted to come down and personally thank you for the work you do. In the state of Utah today, as we know, water is the most important issue, and the work that you do is critical to our state, to the functioning of our state, and to our ability to maintain the quality of life and the way of life that we enjoy. Utah's a wonderful place to live. It's a wonderful place to work, wonderful place to recreate in. And water is at the center of that. And the work you do is, it's a hard task. We've given you significant responsibility. You look at what you're going to be required to do over the next months and years. And it's integral, and it's so important that we get this right. And we put our faith in your responsibility, and want to make sure that you know that we appreciate what you do. So thank you. Just, as I know many of you, I'm a background as a farmer, rancher up in northern Utah, work with water, and I've worked with water every day, and I love it. And so if you ever need anything from me, please don't hesitate to ask, but I want to work with you. We want to get this right as a state, and your voice, your opinion, your expertise and knowledge, and what you bring to the table, the wealth of knowledge that you bring to the table is really priceless. And so thank you for what you're doing. Anyway, that's what I wanted to say. If you have questions for me, or if you want anything from me, don't hesitate to ask. Okay, guys? Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And good luck to you and your new assignment.
Yeah, thank you. I really look forward to working with you. We're going to accomplish great things together. We really will. So thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Okay.
Well, as Director Ferry indicated, that we are embarking on some unprecedented times, and the issues with drought and the need for conservation. We haven't faced that before here in this state, and for the most part, much of the United States. But we appreciate the efforts, as I indicated before, of those that have been involved in bringing us to this point. There has been a lot of moving parts, and will yet to be a lot of moving parts to finalize. So to begin with, we're going to turn the time to Jaqueline DiBernardi. She will kind of outline the process that we will follow with discussing the projects and how that will be handled. And we'll read a statement here that kind of outlines why we are here and where the funding has come from, the process that we'll look forward to moving forward with, to get this project implemented that'll benefit way into the future as far as water conservation is concerned. So, Jaqueline.
Good morning. Here we go. Utah is one of the driest states in the nation, one of the fastest growing, and drinking water sources are limited. In addition, potential climate change impacts and the current multi-year drought in Utah threaten water supplies and put public drinking water supplies at risk. Municipalities and water companies need to reduce their water use to stretch their existing drinking water supplies. Many Utah communities also have secondary water, typically used to irrigate lawns and gardens. Secondary water is not treated to culinary standards and is utilized throughout the state to protect the drinking water supplies. However, many users waste this precious resource because they do not realize how much they are using. Technology has improved over the last decade and now allows for the metering of this untreated secondary water. Individual water use cannot be measured without metering, so water suppliers have begun installing meters on their secondary water connections. By educating their customers on their measured use compared to the amount they should be using, suppliers have seen as much as a 20 to 30% reduction in use. Secondary metering, combined with conservation and education, protects the drinking water supplies and allows drinking water providers to plan for their future growth. House Bill 242 states that a secondary water supplier shall install and maintain a meter of the use of pressurized secondary water by each user receiving secondary water service from that supplier by January 1st of 2030. The legislature provided $250 million in federal ARPA funds to the Board of Water Resources to help providers meet that requirement. The board may issue grants up to 70% of the project cost, but grants are limited to $5 million for providers with 7,000 secondary connections or less, and $10 million for providers with more than 7,000 connections. These ARPA funds must be contracted by the end of 2024 and spent by the end of 2026. If the board provides grant funds for a project, the secondary water supplier must submit or update a water conservation plan for its service area and obtain approval of that plan from the Division of Water Resources staff. In addition, meters purchased with grant money shall allow for data communication between the meter and other devices designed to manage use of secondary water. And the secondary water supplier must agree to provide an educational component to each end user, either in a monthly water use statement or a customer-specific internet portal. This educational component must promote water conservation and provide information on the customer's secondary water usage. So we're going to present these today by board member area. We'll start in the north and work our way down. So this first session will cover Charles and Kyle's areas, the Bear River and Weber River areas. We'll have a project funding section staff manager come up and present a series of reports just summarizing and recommending what we think is an appropriate amount of grant and or loan if necessary. Then we would ask you to have your motions and vote on the entire area at once. So any questions before we turn it over? Good to go? Okay, so let's see if we can.
While you're looking that up, Shalane, let me just, I failed to mention at the outset, we also have a number of individuals that are here in person of project sponsors, but we also have probably a greater number that are participating with us virtually. I can see on the screen there are 21 other sites, but of those 21 sites, there are multiple individuals in those sites. And so I think we need to go through and identify the participants or project sponsors for the record.
For the applicants, yeah. And we do have, and I can list off if they're in person or if they're virtually for the list I have. Please correct me if there are any adjustments that need to be made. So also do Bear River first, and then we get to the Weber district, and I'll get those introductions. So for the Bear River area from Hyrum City, and I apologize if I get any pronunciation wrong, Ron Salveson, and he virtual, Richmond Irrigation Company, Brett Christensen, North Park Irrigation Company, Christy Hansen, Smithfield City, there's a few online, Chris Monson, Craig Giles, and Clay Bodley. And then from Johnson Park Pipeline Company, virtually we have Greg Nilsson. Greenbelt Irrigation Company, present is Kim Hawks. North Logan Sprinkling Company, Dean Adams. Newton Water Users Association, we have Kelly Griffin. Newton Town Sprinkling Company, Jed Woodward. Smithfield Irrigation Company, we have Pat Draper, and these are all virtually. Center Hyde Park Pipeline, Jacob Given. Paradise Irrigation Company, Jason Summers, and 17th North Water Users, Jason Morgado, in virtually as well. Thanks.
Okay, thank you, Candace, thank you for introducing those individuals. So Russell, we'll turn the time now to you to go through the various projects.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, thank you. Good to see everyone today. Okay, the first application in the Bear River District. Hyrum City plans on installing 2,300 meters at a cost of $7,220,000, and they expect they will save 345 acre feet conserved by the project. Staff recommends the board authorize and commit 69.5% of the project cost up to $5 million as a secondary meter grant. Okay, next application, Richmond Irrigation and Power plans to install 512 meters at a total cost of $2,376,000. And they don't expect to conserve any water because they experience shortages most years and they don't have storage on their system. However, they do expect the meters to help them manage the system better. Staff recommends the board authorize and commit 70% of the project cost up to $1,663,000 as a secondary meter grant. Staff also recommends the board authorize 25.5% of the project cost up to $606,000 and that the project be purchased at 1% interest over 15 years with annual payments of approximately $43,800.
Russell, could I just, I think I heard you say 666,000.
606,000.
If you said 606, I heard
Okay,
six.
Okay,
I just wanted to call that correction.
Oh, thank you. Let me run through that again to correct that. Staff recommends the board authorize 25.5% of the project cost up to $606,000 and that the project be purchased at 1% interest over 15 years with annual payments of approximately $43,800. Okay, the next application. North Park Irrigation Company plans on installing 73 meters at a total cost of $225,000, and they estimate they will conserve about 18 acre feet. Staff recommends the board authorize 70% of the project cost up to $157,500 as a secondary meter grant. Staff also recommends the board authorize 25.5% of the project cost up to $57,500 and that the project be purchased at 1% interest over 15 years with annual payments of approximately $4,200. Okay, the next application, Smithfield City plans to install 140 meters at a total cost of $410,000, and they expect it will conserve 6 acre feet. Staff recommends the board authorize 70% of the project cost. Oh,
And commit.
oh, authorize and commit. Oh, I don't have that listed here. Okay. On North Park. Okay.
You're on Smithfield.
Oh, Smithfield, excuse me. Oh, staff recommends the board authorize and commit 70% of the project cost up to $287,000 as a secondary meter grant. Okay, next application, Johnson Park Pipeline Company is planning to install 76 meters at a total cost of $164,000. And they don't expect to conserve any water because they experience shortages most years and don't have storage on their system. However, they do expect the meters to help them manage their system better. Staff recommends the board authorize 70% of the project cost up to $114,800 as a secondary meter grant. Okay. Next application, Greenbelt Irrigation Company plans on installing 92 meters at a total cost of $72,000, and they estimate they will conserve 17 acre feet. Staff recommends the board authorize 70% of the project cost up to $50,400 as a secondary meter grant. Next application, North Logan Sprinkling Company plans on installing 85 meters at a total cost of $240,000, and they estimate they will conserve 60 acre feet. Staff recommends the board authorize 70% of the project cost up to $168,000 as a secondary meter grant. Staff also recommends the board authorize 25.5% of the project cost up to $61,000 and that the project be purchased at 1% interest over 15 years with annual payments of approximately $4,400. Next application, Newton Water Users Association plans on installing 100 meters at a total cost of $360,000, and they estimate it will conserve 20 acre feet. Staff recommends the board authorize and commit 70% of the project cost up to $252,000 as a secondary meter grant. Staff also recommends the board authorize 25.5% of the project cost up to $92,000 and that the project be purchased at 1% interest over 15 years with annual payments of approximately $6,700. Next application, Newton Town Sprinkling Company plans on installing 150 meters at a total cost of $515,000, and they estimate they will conserve 30 acre feet. Staff recommends the board authorize and commit 70% of the project cost up to $360,000 as a secondary meter grant. Staff also recommends the board authorize 25.5% of the project cost up to $132,000 and that the project be purchased at 1% interest over 15 years with annual payments of approximately $9,600. Next application, Smithfield Irrigation Company plans on installing 1,050 meters at a total cost of $4 million. They don't expect to conserve any water because they experience shortages most years and don't have storage on their system. However, they do expect the meters to help them manage their system better. Staff recommends the board authorize and commit 70% of the project cost up to $2,800,000 as a secondary meter grant. Staff also recommends the board authorize 25.5% of the project cost up to $1,020,000 and that the project be purchased at 1% interest over 15 years with annual payments of approximately $73,600. Next application, Center Hyde Park Pipeline. Plans on installing 37 meters at a total cost of $130,000, and the applicant feels it will conserve 1.5 acre feet. Staff recommends the board authorize and commit 70% of the project cost up to $91,000 as a secondary meter grant. Next application, Paradise Irrigation Company plans on installing 440 meters at a total cost of $2,725,000, and they believe they will conserve about 380 acre feet. Staff recommends the board authorize and commit 70% of the project cost up to $1,908,000 as a secondary meter grant. Staff also recommends the board authorize 25.5% of the project cost up to $695,000 and that the project be purchased at 1% interest over 15 years with annual payments of approximately $50,200. And the final application from the Bear River District, the 17th North Water Users plan on installing 60 meters at a total cost of $390,000. They feel it will conserve about 30 acre feet. Staff recommends the board authorize and commit 70% of the project cost up to $273,000 as a secondary meter grant. Staff also recommends the board authorize 25.5% of the project cost up to $99,500 and that the project be purchased at 1% interest over 15 years with annual payments of approximately $7,200. And that is staff's report.
Thank you, Russell. That's a mouthful.
That was a bit. That was a
Okay,
motion.
well, you kind of get a feel for the process that the board will be going through today as we consider funding for each of these projects. Normally, we would take each of the projects one by one, have a little bit more in-depth discussion, but because of the nature of trying to review 70 plus projects in the time frame allotted, it's been recommended and that we follow this process. So at this point, we would ask for if there's been any online public comments, but there have been none that were received within the time frame allotted. Are there any? And you read the list of participants both virtually and in-house or in person that are here representing those projects. And we'd ask, are there any public comments to come from anyone in the audience on any of these projects that have been discussed? Okay, seeing none, we're prepared and time for a motion. Since this is in your area, Charles, we'll turn to you.
Just one comment before you give Charles the floor.
Okay.
Are you willing to commit to go take a look at each of these meters, Charles?
I wasn't even able to go look at a washed out canal in the last 2 weeks. So I don't know if I'll make it.
Well, I
Look at
just knew you had lots of spare time on your hand. Just wanted to know if you was gonna have time to go check all these out.
I hope to, but I doubt it. Mr. Chairman, I will make 3 motions. The first motion is I move that the board authorize and commit secondary meter grants for Hyrum City, for Richmond Irrigation and Power Company, for Smithfield City, for Newton Water Users Association, for Newton Town Sprinkling Company, for Smithfield Irrigation Company, for Center Hyde Park Water Pipeline Company, for Paradise Irrigation and Reservoir Company, and for 17th North Water Users Company. According to staff's recommendation, which is included in the applicant's detail.
Okay, there's a motion to approve the grant applications for those mentioned. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Second by Norm Johnson. Are there any further discussion? Seeing none, then we'll go ahead and call for the question. All those in favor of that motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Well, we'll let the record show that Juliet also voted affirmatively. I'll rule that that motion carries, and we'll go to the next motion.
Mr. Chairman, I will make a motion that the board authorize secondary water grants for North Park Irrigation Company, Johnson Park Pipeline Company, for Greenbelt Irrigation Company, and for North Logan Sprinkling Company, according to staff's recommendations in the details contained in the agreement. That is my motion, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. You've heard the motion. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, we'll call for the question then. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed by the same sign? Rule that that motion carries, and also note that Juliet voted in the affirmative for that. I think it might be appropriate if we just give a brief explanation to further clarify the difference between the 2 motions. So, Shalane, would you like to do that? Oh,
Sure. Yeah, he does have one more motion, but I'll just clarify. Any grant that is not committed today is because they have not been working with an engineer yet. So they have not met the requirements set up. They need to have an engineer verify that the project is adequate, sufficient designed properly and will be installed properly. So until those entities get an engineer and get that approval, we will not come to you for committal of funds yet. So that's why the two motions, some are ready to be authorized and committed today. Some will only be authorized, and that's the distinction.
And the distinction between grant versus loan.
The grants come from the ARPA funding.
Right.
And the loans come from your regular conservation and development fund,
From the
regular board funding.
Great. Okay. Just wanted to have that clarification if there was any question out there as to why we're making the different motions. And I jumped the gun. Charles has one more motion.
Mr. Chairman, I will make a motion that the board authorize secondary meter loans for Richmond Irrigation and Power Company, for North Park Irrigation Company, for North Logan Sprinkling Company, for Newton Water Users Association, for Newton Town Sprinkling Company, for Smithfield Irrigation Company, for Paradise Irrigation and Reservoir Company, and for 17th North Water Users, according to the staff recommendations included in their details. That is my motion, Mr. Chair.
Okay, you've heard the motion. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Wayne Anderson. Any discussion? Seeing none, we'll call for the question then. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed by the same sign. Rule that motion carries and indicate that Juliet also voted in the affirmative. Okay, thank you, Russell, and thank you for those in the Bear River district. Those that have received authorization and committal today can move forward, continue to work with staff, and those that are received authorization, obviously, as Shalane explained, still have additional work that will need to be done to move forward to the committal process. And I think the general direction will be, we'll try and have those ready for the next board meeting to be able to commit the funds. Is that correct?
That is the goal if
Okay.
they get.
If they meet all the
yep.
requirements that they're asked, need to. Okay,
And thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the board. On behalf of the Bear River District applications, I know they appreciate it.
thank you. Okay,
Want me to go through the?
oh. Well, we'll invite, Tom, are you going to do the Weber River District? Or at least the first part of it?
I will start.
We're going to tag team and divide it up into two different sections. Before you make your presentation, we'll ask Candace to go ahead and read those present, both in person and online, that are here supporting their projects.
Great. So with us today, we have Rick Smith from Davis and Weber County's Canal Company. John Perry is present for Weber Basin Water Conservancy District, and I believe Scott Paxman is online as well. Rodney Banks is attending virtually with us from Roy Water Conservancy District. Bountiful Irrigation District, we have Curtis Anderson online. South Weber Water Improvement District with us today is Darren Hess. Layton City, we have Stephen Jackson online. Hates Creek Irrigation, we have Rodney Hill with us today. Weber Box Elder Conservancy District, we have Ben Quick. And South Ogden Conservancy District, we have Ben Quick is representing both of those. And then South Davis Water District, we have Ron Mortensen. Syracuse City, we have Robert Whiteley and Mayor Dave I don't know how to say his last name. Sorry, Mongan, I don't know, sorry. And for Mountain View Irrigation Company, we have Craig Jackson. Colville City, Mark Mosh. Liberty Irrigation Association, David Hansen. And Hooper Irrigation Company, we have Chris Thompson, and those are all virtually. South Weber Irrigation Company, we have Blair and Terry Halverson. North Summit Press, we have Ben Keys. Center Dual Creek, we have Robert Brines, and those are all virtually as well. Fruit Heights City, we have Darren Hansen and Brandon Green. Benchland Water District, Scott Parcel. Wolf Creek Irrigation, D. Staples is in the room with us. And then Riverton City, we have Kevin Hicks.
Okay, thank you. Thank you to those that are in person and also those participating with us online. So Tom, we'll go ahead and turn the time to you to introduce the next phase of projects.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, members of the board, as you can see, there are a lot of projects in the Weaver River District, so we are breaking those up into 2 blocks. I will present the first 11. Ben will present the last 10, and you can reserve your resolution until we finish. So there will be one batch of resolutions. The first applicant is Davis and Weber Counties Canal Company. They're planning to install about 5,260 meters at a cost of $14,286,000. And they expect to conserve about 1,105 acre feet of water. Staff recommends the board authorize and commit 70% of the project cost up to $10 million as a secondary meter grant. Staff also recommends the board authorize and commit 25.5% of the project cost up to $3,643,000, and that the project be purchased at 1% interest over 15 years with annual payments of approximately $262,800. The next applicant is Weber Basin Water Conservancy District. The district is planning to install approximately 6,900 meters at a total cost of about $14,300,000. And they expect to conserve around 3,780 acre feet per year. Staff recommends the board authorize and commit 70% of the project cost up to $10 million as a secondary meter grant. The third applicant is Roy Water Conservation District. And they're planning to install about 6,000 meters at a total cost of $14,286,000. And they expect to conserve about 1,200 acre feet of water per year. Staff recommends the board authorize and commit 70% of the project cost up to $10 million as a secondary meter grant. Staff also recommends the board authorize 25.5% of the project cost up to $3,643,000 as a loan, and that the bonded indebtedness be returned at 1% interest over 15 years with annual payments of approximately $283,000, which includes reserves. The next applicant is the Bountiful Irrigation District. They are planning to install about 6,400 acre meters at a total cost of $14,286,000, and they expect to conserve about 2,400 acre feet of water per year. Staff recommends the board authorize and commit 70% of the project cost up to $10 million as a secondary meter grant. Staff also recommends that the board authorize 25.5% of the project cost up to $3,643,000 as a loan, and that the bonded indebtedness be returned at 1% interest over 15 years with annual payments of approximately $283,000, and that includes reserves. The next applicant is South Weber Water Improvement District. And they are anticipating installing around 1,034 meters at a total cost of $3,660,000. And they expect to conserve about 560 acre feet per year. Staff recommends the board authorize and commit 70% of the project cost up to $2,562,000 as a secondary meter grant. Staff also recommends the board authorize 25.5% of the project cost up to $933,000 as a loan, and that the bonded indebtedness be returned at 1% interest over 15 years with annual payments of approximately $73,000, and that includes reserves. The next applicant is Layton City, and they are expecting to install about 2,380 meters at a total cost of $7,140,000. They expect to conserve about 725 acre feet of water per year. Staff recommends the board authorize and commit 70% of the project cost up to $5 million as a secondary meter grant. Staff also recommends the board authorize 25.5% of the project cost up to $1,821,000 as a loan, and that the bonded indebtedness be returned at 1% interest over 15 years with annual payments of approximately $141,000. And that includes reserves. The next applicant is Hates Creek Irrigation Company, and they expect to install 3,000 meters with a total project cost of $7,143,000, and they anticipate conserving about 858 acre feet per year. Staff recommends the board authorize and commit 70% of the project cost up to $5 million as a secondary meter grant. Staff also recommends the board authorize 25.5% of the project cost up to $1,822,000, and that the project be purchased at 1% interest over 18 years with annual payments of approximately 15. Sorry about that. Well, they're nice guys. We'll give them a break. I'll start over on that one. Staff recommends the board authorize 25.5% of the project cost up to $1,822,000, and that the project be purchased at 1% interest over 15 years with annual payments of $131,500. The next applicant is Weber Box Elder Conservation District. And they're anticipating installing approximately 3,320 meters at a total project cost of $14,286,000 and anticipate conserving about 2,380 acre feet per year. Staff recommends the board authorize and commit 70% of the project cost up to $10 million as a secondary meter grant. Staff also recommends the board authorize 25.5% of the project cost up to $3,643,000 as a loan, and that the bonded indebtedness be returned at 1% interest over 15 years with annual payments of approximately $283,000 per year. That includes reserves. The next applicant is South Ogden Conservation District. They anticipate installing 3,425 meters with a total project cost of $14,286,000. And they expect to conserve around 1,265 acre feet per year. Staff recommends the board authorize and commit 70% of the project cost up to $10 million as a secondary meter grant. Staff also recommends the board authorize 25.5% of the project cost up to $3,643,000 as a loan, and that the bonded indebtedness be returned at 1% interest over 15 years with annual payments of approximately $283,000, and that includes reserves. The next applicant is the South Davis Water District. And they're intending to install around 2,063 meters at a total project cost of $5,164,000 and expect to conserve around 630 acre feet per year. Staff recommends the board authorize and commit 70% of the project cost up to $3,615,000 as a secondary meter grant. Staff also recommends the board authorize 25.5% of the project cost up to $1,317,000 as a loan, and that the bonded indebtedness be returned at 1% interest over 15 years with annual payments of approximately $102,000, and that includes reserves. Syracuse City is anticipating installing about 8,879 meters at a total project cost of $16,400,000 and expect to conserve about 7,990 acre feet per year. Staff recommends the board authorize and commit 61% of the project cost up to $10 million as a secondary meter grant. And that's the end of the first block of the Weber River projects.
Okay, Ben, we'll invite you to come forward and give us the second half of that area.
Why, thank you. It'll be my pleasure to take a gander at this mouthful. Okay. The first one I've got here is Mountain View Irrigation Company. They are planning to install 1,397 meters at a total cost of $2,913,000. They expect to conserve approximately 712 acre feet. 349 acre feet. I skipped a line. Staff recommends that the board authorize and commit 70% of the project cost up to $2,039,000 as a secondary meter grant. Staff also recommends that the board authorize 25.5% of the project cost up to $743,000 and that the project be purchased at 1% interest over 15 years with annual payments of approximately $53,600. Colville City is planning to install 425 meters at a total cost of $1,300,000. They expect to conserve approximately 712 acre feet. Staff recommends that the board authorize and commit 70% of the project cost up to $910,000 as a secondary meter grant. Staff also recommends that the board authorize 25.5% of the project cost up to $332,000 as a loan, and that the bonded indebtedness be returned at 1% interest over 15 years with annual payments of approximately $26,000, including reserves. The Liberty Irrigation Association is planning to install 231 water meters at a total cost of $800,000. They expect to conserve approximately 115 acre feet of water. Staff recommends that the board authorize and commit 70% of the project cost up to $560,000 as a secondary meter grant. The Hooper Irrigation Company is planning to install 1,010 secondary meters at a total cost of $3,130,000, and they expect to conserve 852 acre feet of water. Staff recommends that the board authorize and commit 70% of the project cost up to $2,191,000 as a secondary meter grant. Staff also recommends that the board authorize 25.5% of the project cost up to $798,000 and that the project be purchased at 1% interest over 15 years with annual payments of approximately $57,600. The Southweed Irrigation Company is planning to install 412 meters at a total cost of $1,334,000, and they expect to conserve 103 acre feet. Staff recommends that the board authorize and commit 70% of the project cost up to $934,000 as a secondary meter grant. The North Summit Pressurized Irrigation Company, Incorporated, is planning to install 220 water meters at a total cost of $834,000, and they estimate they will conserve 110 acre feet of water annually. Staff recommends that the board authorize and commit 70% of the project cost up to $584,000 as a secondary meter grant. Staff also recommends that the board authorize 25.5% of the project cost up to $213,000 and that the project be purchased at 1% interest over 15 years with annual payments of approximately $15,400. The Centerville Dual Creek Irrigation Company is planning to install 2,305 water meters at a total cost of $8,617,000, and they expect to conserve 835 acre feet of water. Staff recommends that the board authorize and commit 58% of the project cost up to $5 million as a secondary meter grant. Staff also recommends that the board authorize 35.7% of the project cost up to $3,075,000 and that the project be purchased at 1% interest over 15 years with annual payments of approximately $221,800. Fruit Heights City is planning to install 56 water meters at a cost of $280,000. They expect to conserve approximately 20 acre feet of water. Staff recommends that the board authorize and commit 70% of the project cost up to $196,000 as a secondary meter grant. The Benchland Water District is planning to install 1,900 secondary water meters at a total cost of $7,870,000, and they expect to conserve approximately 1,500 acre feet of water. Staff recommends that the board authorize and commit 63.6% of the project cost up to $5 million as a secondary meter grant. Staff also recommends that the board authorize 31% of the project cost up to $2,440,000 as a loan, and that the bonded indebtedness be returned at 1% interest over 15 years, with annual payments of approximately $189,000, including reserves. And finally, the Wolf Creek Irrigation Company is planning to install 170 water meters at a total cost of $520,000. They expect to conserve 102 acre feet of water. Staff recommends that the board authorize and commit 70% of the project cost up to $364,000 as a secondary meter grant. Staff also recommends that the board authorize 25.5% of the project cost up to $132,600 and that the project be purchased at 1% over 15 years with annual payments of approximately $9,600. And that is staff's report.
Thank you, Ben. Again, you can see that there's a lot of large projects in this particular area. And I've asked Blaine Ibsen to conduct the motion part of this for the Weber Basin or Weber River District. So Blaine, we'll go ahead and turn the time to you to.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman. There will be three separate motions, so we'll just do them one at a time then. First motion, I move that the board authorize and commit secondary meter grants for the following: Davis and Weber County Canal Company, Weber Basin Water Conservancy District, Roy Water Conservancy District, Bountiful Irrigation District, South Weber Water Improvement District, Layton City, Hates Creek Irrigation Company, Weber Box Elder Conservation District, South Ogden Conservation District, Syracuse City, Mountain View Irrigation, Colville City, Liberty Irrigation Association, Hooper Irrigation Company, South Weber Irrigation Company, North Summit Pressurized Irrigation Company, Centerville Dual Creek Irrigation Company, Fruit Heights City, Benchland Water District, and Wolf Creek Irrigation Company, according to staff's recommendations. That's my motion.
Okay, it's been moved to accept that as recommended. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Norm Johnson will second. I failed to mention before we started with the motions that the request for any online comments, there were no public comments. And I failed to ask if there was anyone in attendance that wanted to make a comment, and we'll give you 1 minute to go ahead.
I just wanted to clarify something.
Would you introduce yourself?
Ronald Mortensen, South Davis Water District.
Okay.
The ARPA funds have to be expended by 2026. Does that mean by the end of 2025?
No,
December 31st of 2026.
2026. And if a district, if we run into problems because of supply chain, labor and other things and cannot be completed by then, what happens then, as my understanding is, then we lose that grant money and we're on our own. Is that correct?
I think those are some questions that are still not able to be answered yet. But because we recognize that there have been some supply chain issues, but we're also operating under the restrictions of the funding being approved or the source of funding from the federal government, that those restrictions were placed on those funds through the American Rescue Plan Act process.
Correct,
Shalane, go ahead.
Kyle. Yes, that is our understanding as well, that basically at the end of December 31st, 2026, the money disappears and we won't have access to it. No one else will have access to it. So unless the legislature does something before then to perhaps provide a stopgap or something, our understanding is that those funds must be spent. And if they can't be, we will not have access to them. And then the requirement for installing meters is January 1st of 2030, and we'll figure something out. Because we still are very supportive of this measure, however it happens.
Still be loan funds available.
Yes, loan funds will still be available. Not
Thank you
sure how
for,
much.
thank you for asking that question, because those are some issues that are out there with the supply chain and the restrictions, with the timelines associated with that. And we're working through those as best we can to address the issue and to comply with the requirements as set forth by the legislature and go from there. So thank you for those
and
comments.
Can I add, Kyle? We did just receive an email from one company this week saying we have secondary meters in stock. So if you can't find them from one company, try another. That's
Okay, thank you. Now we'll go back to the motion. I was probably out of order in allowing that discussion to take place while the motion was on the table. But so it's been moved and approved as Blaine read the motion. So I'll call for the question. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? I'll rule the motion carries then, and note that Juliet voted in the affirmative virtually. So Blaine, go to the next motion.
Okay,
if you
the
will.
next motion. I move that the board authorize and commit the secondary meter loan for Davis and Weber County's Canal Company according to staff's recommendation.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to approve, authorize and commit the funds for Davis and Weber County Canal Companies. I'll just offer a comment. They've been anxious and they've been actively moving forward and trying to get ahead of the game and getting product purchased and contracts in process. So is there any further discussion on that motion? Seeing none, I'll call for the question. Then all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Juliet?
I did not say aye, but I am saying aye now. Yes.
Okay. I didn't know if you were on mute or not. Just wanted to make sure you had that opportunity.
I really appreciate you looking out for me. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So I'll rule that motion passes and note that Juliet again voted in the affirmative. Blaine?
Okay, this is the next motion. I move that the board authorize secondary meter loans for the following: Roy Water Conservancy District, Bountiful Irrigation District, South Weber Water Improvement District, Layton City, Hates Creek Irrigation Company, Weber Box Elder Conservation District, South Ogden Conservation District, South Davis Water District, Mountain View Irrigation, Colville City, Hooper Irrigation Company, North Summit Pressurized Irrigation Company, Centerville Duell Creek Irrigation Company, Benchland Water District, and Wolf Creek Irrigation Company, according to staff's recommendations.
Okay, you've heard the motion. Is there a second?
I'll second that motion, Mr. Chairman.
Second by Jim Lemon. Is there any further discussion? Marisa, did you want to say something? You were just coming
Not
up,
really.
getting ready for the next.
No.
Okay, thank you. We'll call for the question then. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Rule that motion carries. And again, note that Juliet voted in the affirmative. Okay, so that is that section of grant and loan applications. Thank you for those that were in attendance, both virtually and in person. And good luck with moving forward with your projects. Okay. Sure.
Just because we're going through so many of these, I just want to verify, no, there were no public comments and all of that, and the board's moved. Is anyone in attendance? Did we miss something? Did we miss one of your motions? Did we miss a staff recommendation? Or did we get y'all? I just want to verify before we wrap up this session. Somebody.
Dean Adams.
Go ahead, Dean.
Dean, you're still on mute.
And Dean, I do believe we moved on your project. So is there something you believe we missed?
He's on mute.
You must be on mute, Dean. If you're on the phone, it's *6 to unmute.
He's on his PC.
Which project was it?
Dean
One of
is
those
which-
Cache Valley ones, Bear River.
North Logan Sprinkling? North Logan Sprinkling Company.
It's about, the screen shows $6,100.
Oh,
Not 61,000.
oh, did it?
Yeah, so we can ask Dean if that's what it's about. It's, I'm on
No, it's right
oh,
there.
there. So it says
Oh,
6,100 instead of
so Dean, are you trying to comment that the table on the PowerPoint showed a $6,100 loan, whereas the actual presentation stated $61,000? Okay, yes, the presentation isn't official, and we will make sure we get that corrected. But we did actually have the proper staff recommendations. Thank you for that, Dean.
Thank you, Shalane, for asking that question. Are there any others that we have not noticed, had the hand raised, or wanted to make comment? Seeing none, then we will move to the next
Recess.
That's it. We're done early.
Oh, we are done
Good job, you
with this,
guys.
with this particular
So, Mr.
section.
Mr. Chairman, I have one comment for
Okay.
you. It looks like you've got about 57,000 meters to verify on out there. So Chuck skated through pretty easy on this one.
I don't have a big job.
No, yours looks pretty simple. Now, Kyle ought to feel a little overwhelmed at this point.
I'll do my best to go and inspect every one of them.
Well, I appreciate that.
Well, and I will add, Randy, that staff is planning not to see everyone because there's no way we can, but we will verify that we will visit each project at some point and we will verify that the money's going where you designate it to go.
Well, we
So-
appreciate that. I just would imagine that Kyle feels a little overwhelmed today, I would assume.
Okay, well, with that, I also failed to mention, we had a couple of news stations enter and wanted to participate with us. And we appreciate them being here. We appreciate the coverage and know that this is a very timely issue. And we recognize that as some of the questions have been raised relative to supply chain issues and installation, implementation, and the timeframes associated with 2024 and 2026. But I think the staff is doing their best to try and meet those requirements and help meet those obligations and achieve what we can with helping to conserve water during this period of time. So
Mr. Chair, one other
we'll
thing.
go ahead, turn
Just,
the time to the director then for comment.
I just want to, I know we're broken up into sessions, so I just wanted to give a shout out to our team here at Water Resources and all of the project managers and support staff that put in work to get this to this point. There was a lot of long nights, long weekends, and we really did that because we recognized that there is a tight time frame around this money, and we wanted it in the applicant's hands as quickly as possible, or have access to it, really. So I just want to thank our team here and all of their good work to get us to this point.
Okay, thank you. Then, as noted, we are ahead of schedule. It was kind of hard to anticipate exactly how to break all this out. And so I think staff has done the best they can with that. But we will be in recess until the next session starts at 1:30, at which point in time we will review the next group of applicants. And those are, help me out here, which
Severe River.
Severe River and Provo. So we'll, like I said, we'll recess and we'll reconvene at 1:30. So thank you.